In today's notes, we're going to follow up with the Constitution from our last notes, take a look at the ratification or the approval of the Constitution, and we'll focus on the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. First, the purposes of the Constitution. Our Constitution is a blueprint of our government. It says how our government's going to operate. It was important because it gives our nation legitimacy, meaning that other nations recognize our nation as an official country, an official nation. We're legitimized. It also creates the structures or the branches of our government, the executive, the legislative, and the judicial branches. It describes what the responsibilities and powers of each of those branches are. It also limits the power of those branches so that no one person or no one group of people has too much power in our new nation. And it also allows for amendments or changes to the Constitution. After the Constitution was approved by the Constitutional Convention, it had to be ratified or approved by the states. There were two groups of people within the new nation at this point debating over the Constitution. The Federalists were in favor of a strong central government and in favor of the Constitution. The Anti-Federalists opposed a central government that was too strong. They wanted to ensure that the states and that citizens maintained some of their rights. So the Anti-Federalists demanded a Bill of Rights, a list of rights that the people and the states had. In order to get the Constitution ratified, the Federalists agreed to add a Bill of Rights after the Constitution had been ratified. In order for the Constitution to be ratified or approved, 9 states had to approve it, 9 of the 13. Delaware was the first, New Hampshire was the 9th, the one that made the Constitution official, and Rhode Island never officially ratified the Constitution. The Bill of Rights that was added is made up of the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. The Bill of Rights was modeled after bills of rights that many states already had, and it's designed to protect both the individuals, the citizens of the new nation, and the states. Our First Amendment guarantees religious and political freedom, and it has actually 5 really important parts. It guarantees the freedom of religion, meaning you have the right to practice your own religion. It guarantees freedom of speech, as long as it doesn't harm or infringe anyone else's rights. It guarantees the right to assembly, meaning the gathering of people. It guarantees the right of the press or the freedom of press, meaning that newspapers or other media can print or say what they want, again, as long as it doesn't infringe on anyone else's rights. And it guarantees the right to petition the government. If the government is doing something you disapprove of, you can petition it or ask for change. The Second Amendment is most commonly referred to as the right to bear arms, but that's actually not the whole amendment. The amendment actually says that people have the right to keep a well-regulated militia, and that the government cannot infringe on the right of the people to bear arms. All of these rights were designed after things that Britain did that we didn't approve of when we were colonies under Britain. As colonies, when we began to seek our independence, we needed a militia or a military to fight against the British military. The Second Amendment was created or was included in the Bill of Rights to guarantee that if our government didn't function as we wanted it to, that the people had the right to overthrow it if the situation was necessary. Also, that the people had the right to protect themselves, their states, their property from outside forces. It doesn't apply quite the same today because we have a military that's designed to do that, that's designed to protect us from outside influences. So most people focus on that one small part of the Second Amendment that guarantees the right to bear arms. The Third Amendment doesn't really apply today, but again, it was a complaint, or because of a complaint, against the British government. If you remember from our talk about the Revolution, Britain housed British soldiers in homes in Boston, in civilians' homes, or they quartered them in civilian homes. And the Third Amendment says that during peacetime, no soldier can be housed in a civilian's home without that civilian's consent. Something that we probably won't have to worry about. The Fourth Amendment protects against illegal search and seizure. It says that without a warrant, without your permission, or without probable cause, police or other officials cannot search your property. The Fifth Amendment lists the rights of accused persons. It says that no one can be held without an indictment, meaning they can't be held in jail without being charged with something. They can't be forced to be a witness against themselves. If you've ever seen on a TV show like Law and Order someone pleading the fifth, what that person is saying is, I'm not going to respond to that question because it could possibly incriminate myself or make myself look guilty. And the Fifth Amendment also says that you cannot be tried twice for the same crime, something known as double jeopardy. The Sixth Amendment guarantees the right to a speedy and public trial. The public part of it means in front of a jury. The speedy part means in a reasonable amount of time. You can't be held for an extended period of time without a trial date set. It also guarantees that you have the right to legal counsel, to be represented by a lawyer. The Seventh Amendment guarantees a trial by jury in civil cases. Civil cases are court cases between two individuals or between citizens. The Eighth Amendment puts limits on fines and punishments for crimes. You may have heard the phrase, no cruel or unusual punishments, and that's what the Eighth Amendment is designed to protect against. It protects against excessive fines or excessive bails. Our last two amendments, the Ninth and the 10th, are kind of the catch-all amendments. The Ninth guarantees the rights of people, and it says basically that there are some rights that haven't been listed in the Bill of Rights. But that doesn't mean that people don't have those rights. They'll just have to be addressed later on or as they come up. One of the most recent cases of this was the right to privacy, a debate over whether or not the government had the right to tap people's phone lines without them knowing that their phone lines were being tapped. And the 10th Amendment is the catch-all for the states. It says basically that if a power is not listed specifically in the Constitution as something that the federal government gets to do, then it belongs to the states and to the people. These 10 amendments that make up the Bill of Rights help to ensure that the Constitution was ratified. They are still oftentimes debated. What they mean exactly, certainly with an amendment like the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, it's a constant debate, one that we'll hear a lot in the upcoming presidential election.